Today is Saturday, May 16th. I'd like to talk today about why Hezbollah of Lebanon is dangerous, specifically in Iraq and the region, and what's the most effective thing that Hezbollah could do that the Iranian regime benefits from it. Many people in Washington focus on the military capability of Hezbollah, which has proven time and time and again it could be effective to a very limited extent. Hezbollah is bordering Israel with tens of thousands of rockets. The Iranian regime try to hold the Israelis hostages to negotiate with the world doing that. It's a very similar scenario to what North Korea is doing with Seoul. The Iranians, I learned from my service in the Iraqi army 5 years, that the Iranians use a huge amount of North Korean war tactics. And the Iranians are not entrepreneurs, and they're not creative. They work by trial and error. And once something works for them, or they are excellent copy cutters, and they are basically can multiply something that worked for them by trial and error and succeeded. They can multiply it to a large number very quickly. But they cannot be creative of new ideas. They steal ideas. They are hackers. So they hack these ideas from North Korea. And so far it's been working for them somehow, not too bad. Now, the lethal effect of Hezbollah on Iraq, it exceeds by all means military training or military fighting. No Iraqi in Iraq needs any military training. Thanks to Saddam, we've been in wars since the mid-70s up to today. And I can challenge anybody, every Iraqi knows how to fight. In fact, I met some people, Lebanese, who are close to Hezbollah, who told me we've never seen such vicious fighters like the Iraqis in Syria, for example. So why would Hezbollah be so effective and so powerful in Iraq? The reason that missed many people in Washington, Hezbollah grew up in a very deep-rooted democracy in the Middle East, probably one of the first, if not the first democracy in the Middle East, which is in Lebanon. The democratic system in Lebanon is old, and Hezbollah grew up within this old system of democracy in Lebanon, also, although shaky sometimes. And also Hezbollah in Lebanon is not a majority, is a minority. Maybe 35-40% of the country are Shia, which is the main hub for the Hezbollah. Now, because Hezbollah grew up or flourished in a democracy, they learned how to hack this democracy, how to use corruption to circumvent this democracy, and how to go around it and win seats in the parliament, and then become dominant power in the parliament and therefore in the state. Weapons they have not been effective as much as in Israel as inside Lebanon to intimidate regular people, normal citizens, to push for their political power. But again, they were able to understand how to overcome democratic hurdles and use it in their favor to become a power in a democracy. And that is exactly what the Iranians missing. The Iranian regime is a dictatorship regime. The democracy is a show democracy. They don't understand democracy. They don't understand how to function under democracy. So as Iraq. Iraq has never been a democracy. The nascent democracy in Iraq could not be overcome by the Shia militias in Iraq or the Shia proxy in Iraq without some knowledge or background in democracy. And that's where Hezbollah came to play a very important role. I give you, this is a fact. In 2004 and 5, the Sadrists sent tens, if not hundreds, of their operatives to Lebanon. They were trained by Hezbollah how to win large number of seats by dividing Sadrist areas into squares and prevent competing of different candidates in these squares of competition. And each square will be run by one Sadrist, not competing with another one within his own square of area. And they were trained how to look and present themselves as a democratic candidate, and won a lot of seats. And this is exactly what Hezbollah did in Lebanon. And that was basically used in Iraq, and that's why how the Sadrists used their large number of support from a chaotic support to an organized support to win large number of seats. Also, Hezbollah is extremely expert in using smuggling, because they do a lot of drugs smuggling, using illegal ports to smuggle things in and out of the country, using laundering monies. They have long experience of laundering monies. This experience they have inherited from the Lebanese sophisticated financial system. So, and they were able to use it in their own interests. This is how they transferred this experience to Iraq, using ports in Basra and Fao and other areas to import and export, and they transferred this long experience to Iraq, and that's how we see a lot of the financial corruption in Iraq is run by Hezbollah. That is exactly what is dangerous, most dangerous about Hezbollah. And we see now, for example, Sheikh Mohammed Kawtharani is doing a lot of business in Iraq, and now after the Iranians collapse of their economy, after the good policy of President Trump of maximum pressure, we see that Hezbollah doing a lot of money and business in Iraq, and it's probably Iraq is the main funder of Hezbollah now, not Tehran. And that's how they are able to maintain their level of spending inside Lebanon from Iraq. So the dangerous of Hezbollah is how they are able to use the Iraqi financial system, the Iraqi oil exports, to do financial transactions that is useful to them and to their proxy partners. I can assure you and guarantee you, Iraqi proxies has no expertise in any financial matters or business matters. They were all very poor refugees in Iran. They never did business in the past. They have no idea how to open a bank account or write a check on a checkbook. So this is what I'd like to focus on, of why Hezbollah is very lethal and very dangerous in Iraq specifically. Even in Yemen, they use illegal ports to transfer and to launder money. The Yemenis don't need someone to train them on weapons. Believe me, they know what to do, except for certain things, maybe IEDs and so forth. But in generally speaking, the Hezbollah dangerous aspect is the financial part and the business part, not the military part. We've seen them in Syria. They were not able to change the balance of military power in Syria, and they probably failed in many ways. But they were able to change the financial balance in Iraq into their favor and to the favor of the Iranian regime. Thank you.